What is your X years on the job? I've never seen anything like it. Story. I'm a rental car agent and we get calls all the time from towing companies in possession of our cars. One evening, I received one of these calls and, after the usual greetings and introductions, he started with, boy, you're gonna wish you weren't the one to pick up this phone. In my 25 years of towing, I ain't ever seen thin like this. As you can imagine, I was also excited to hear what came next. I won't bore you with the whole conversation, but I'll give you the gist of it. The renter had picked up the car several states away and was due to return it to our location. As he crossed into our state, he had some sort of anxiety attack and called the cops after abandoning the car on the side of the freeway. He was convinced somebody was chasing him and claimed he had been shot at. The vehicle was taken to the tow yard owned by the man on the phone, who had called to 1. Ask us the procedure on getting the man's personal effects to his mother and 2. Inform me of the condition of our car. It was full of rocks, to the brim. The only room in the 4-door sedan was the driver's seat. The trunk, back seat, and passenger seat were filled to the top with rocks of all shapes and sizes. Its suspension was shot, with the bumpers only inches from the ground due to the weight. The man had apparently been prospecting for gold, collecting samples along the way. AMD, those fabled shooters on the freeway were after his good finds. His mother had called to get the rocks shipped for safekeeping while he was in the hospital. Had a guy order 15 Junior McChickens at 3 AM one night. We assumed it was for a group or whatever. Stuff like that happens sometimes. Sure as crap, the dude plopped down at a table, and the sucker ate every single last sandwich. Hey, sometimes you're so hungry 14 Junior chickens just won't do. I was a mechanic for 10 years. I did a complimentary oil change for a customer and was later informed I was being sued because changing the oil caused the front main, rear main and oil pan gasket to leak. I tried to save them the embarrassment of taking it to court because I had records of it leaking prior to this, as well as multiple reminders and quotes to get it fixed. The judge laughed it out of the courtroom. I've never seen anyone try so hard and fail so miserably. Worked in a convenience store. Girl came in and wanted to buy smokes. I ID'd her and she said she didn't have any on her but her sister was in the store next door and that she had it. I told her that didn't matter and I wouldn't sell either of them smokes as we can't sell to someone we think is a minor. She comes in 20 minutes later with her identical twin sister. I accepted her sister's ID. This reminds of the time where a customer was buying a codeine product for period pain but there was a purchase only a few days ago. This history doesn't match up with the intending use. Apparently their codeine addicted twin borrowed their license to buy more codeine. I told them to keep an eye on their license or else they could be denied codeine products in the future because of her twin. Tattoo artist. About 6 months ago, this guy came into the shop. He had not 1, but 5 tattoos on his forearm of his wife's vag. I've been in various levels of business administration customer service for 12 years. Hotel front desk, hotel manager, operations general manager, staff accountant, etc. I've set up and maintained countless vendor relationships over the years. A few months ago I reached out to a company because I wanted to set up a corporate account and purchase about 35k of their product, but I had some questions to make sure the particular product would fit our very specific needs. Send an introduction email, explain what the company I represent does, what issue we're facing. Say I'm very motivated to make a purchase in the next 30 days and would love to purchase their product but have some questions. And include a list of 4 questions about specific aspects of the particular products. 2 days later I got a response from a salesperson directing me to watch a 7-minute YouTube video. I do so. I respond thanking him for linking me to their sales demonstration video that auto plays when you go to their website, by the way, and point out that the video didn't answer any of the specific questions I had asked. He replied that I should watch the video before I reply to his email, because yes it does. I proceeded to watch every video that channel had posted, screenshotted my video history, and sent him the screenshot explaining that I had watched his company's entire video library. Here's proof. And no video even came close to answering any of the questions I had asked him. 3 days later I was contacted by another salesperson and thanked for my interest and directed to watch the exact same 7-minute introduction video. Lost my crap on them. Went off about how in my entire career managing business and financial operations I had never interacted with such a wholly incompetent sales team that didn't have the decency to actually attempt to answer any of my questions or connect me with anyone on the implementation, coding, or tech support side of things. No response until 2 weeks later, when I get a call from another member of their sales team asking if I had time to meet at their local office to watch a demonstration video and fill out the paperwork to finalize the sale. It would be funny if I weren't still peed off that people so wholly incompetent and delusional are probably making multiples of my salary every year. I am a store manager and in our store we sell electronical devices. I saw tons of incredible things, but my top 3 is: a young guy bought a new camera. The next day he comes back saying that camera is crap and not working. We test it and the memory card is not recognized. We take a closer look and we realize that he cut his old memory card, a regular SD, into the shape of a microSD so it could fit the reader. Owner of a Panasonic plasma TV asking where was the hole on the TV to refill plasma because colors were not looking good anymore. Hot girl asking for help. She brought me her laptop and asked me if I could have a look because it was slow and lagging. I turn it on and it is locked with the password. She digits it and it loads wallpaper as herself doing a job. One of the most embarrassing situations of my entire life. I was going to a park to play RPG and I saw about 15 pretty fit muscular dudes sitting around in circle just knitting. Each one was knitting something different. I think they looked like they were having fun. I got pretty jealous. I've been a nursing assistant for 10 years. One of my first wards was a 95-year-old woman whose children had neglected her for years until Adult Protective Services intervened. When she was first admitted, she had pressure wounds on her back and buttocks so severe that parts of her pelvic bone had become exposed and maggots were crawling in them. I've worked in kitchens on and off for 30 years. Last week we had a fire inside the dishwasher. Not mine, but an assistant manager. So, at our gas station, you have to pay first. That's just it. The pumps will not flow unless there is money on them or a hold on the card used to pay. One day, somebody came in complaining that the pump wouldn't take their card. We looked, and $74 in gas had been used, and was waiting to be paid. We called everybody from the local gas stations to our regional manager, and nobody could find out how the heck it happened. Our video shows them pulling up to the pump, and just pumping without swiping a card. Damnedest thing. I've always felt strangely proud of the sucker who managed that. I have seen people step in concrete. I have seen people accidentally pull into wet concrete. I have seen people pull into wet concrete, back out and not even stop and apologize. I have seen all those happen on more than one occasion. Never had I seen someone, an elderly couple, pull into a paving that just got poured. Stop, get out for the vehicle, then realize they are in concrete, get back in and try to drive the rest of the way through. Had to hook a chain to the hi-ho bucket and pull them out. As we are hooking them up, they are still trying to pull out even though we told them what we were doing. We get them out, they drive away and come back a few minutes later and it's like they had forgotten. They pull right back in 25 featuring down the pad and reverse out. Roll the window down and ask if this was going to be for the new save a lot. We were awestruck. They drove off into the sun. We couldn't save the first part of the pad. Someone wrote down their plate number. The second part of the pad we were able to fix. I worked in retail for 13 years. I've seen crap, vomit, cursing, blood, fights, drugs, you name it. But it was never weirder than a time someone came into my store with a 50-gallon fish tank, angled into a shopping cart, with the pebbles inside. We weren't a pet store. They wanted to rescue the lobsters. Gore ahead, I drive a truck. Some guy decided to jump from one of the overpasses on the freeway at around 3 in the morning and I hit him. Unfortunately, air brakes aren't like hydraulic brakes, what you have on your car, and have a second or two between application and actual stopping, so I hit him at around 70 miles per hour with a 15-ton truck. Sounded like hitting a water balloon with a baseball bat. Felt like hitting a speed bump. He was torn into thirds. Every time I hear of a suicide like this, I feel so bad for the innocent driver. Glad to hear you're okay and sorry you had to have this experience foisted upon you. Worked in a natural history museum in the gift shop. Our second floor was prehistoric life and as such full of dinosaurs. Family with 2 elementary school aged kids comes into the gift shop and I ask if they enjoyed the dinosaurs. Because seriously, you are 8, you came to see dinosaurs. The mother of the family tells me that they don't believe in dinosaurs and brought their children to see the museum to prove to them that fossils are a lie. I've yet to wrap my head around this learning opportunity. Working for an ISP that also provides cable TV. We sell digital TV tuners for access to most TV channels, and recently I got a phone call from a guy in management saying I needed to contact one of the customers due to a mistake happening in deliveries. So I called the customer and asked him what the problem was, and apparently there had been some kind of error in our ordering system that was just remade with a new web-based ordering for the customer service agents. This error had caused duplications in orders to this customer, resulting in a quite large order of TV tuners being sent to his address. Normally the packages are sent to the local post office so that customers can pick up their new tuners there, but this package was so large that the post office couldn't take it in, and the postal service decided to deliver it to the man's doorstep with a truck. The delivery order was signed by the customer for receiving 835 TV tuners, resulting in the man having to fill his entire garage with these, and an invoice had been automatically created for about $300,000. We of course solved this by ordering a pickup for 834 of the tuners again with a new truck, and pulled back the entire invoice, giving the poor guy one of the tuners for free. I can only imagine the look on his face when he received the package with all those tuners. Good thing he was a good sport about it, as it was a very obvious mistake somewhere. My first year working with preschoolers, I had a child with behavioral issues escape the classroom and run out the door. Most kids run toward the front office and get caught before they get very far. Nonetheless, I became an expert at preventing children from running out of my classroom. 3 years later, I had a child not only successfully escape when a parent opened the door, but sneak out without me or the parent noticing, run to the back of the school, enter another classroom, and lock themselves inside of it. Noticed he was missing right away and called the front office. They found him in the classroom he'd locked himself in right when his mom arrived to pick him up, explaining that was wonderful, even though I had documented proof. Mandatory face-to-name checks performed every 15 minutes, that her child had not been lost and locked in a classroom all day. She still made some pretty serious accusations, filed a formal complaint, and turned it into a huge thing that the school had to deal with for an entire year afterward. Never before nor since have I physically lost a student that way. I was a bartender manager for a dozen years. Normally when someone comes up to a bar and says I have a strange question, it's something really banal, like what's the song that just played or can I have a couple of straws? So, we're hosting a wedding reception and a Scottish guy comes up to the bar. I've got a weird question. Yeah, go ahead, shoot. Has anyone handed in a dagger? I've lost one. Turns out the dagger was a ceremonial one that was a part of his kilt, but I felt a complete mixture of hey, that is an unusual question and oh crap, this wedding is about to be on the local news. He found it in the end. Mercifully, not in anybody. I worked for the cable company. Customer wanted a refund on his pay-per-view because he thought the title and description were misleading. The title was Backseat Banging 7. He felt that because there was a 7 in the title, there should have been 7 different girls in 7 different cars. I asked him how many girls were in Backseat Banging 2, since I saw his order history, but he couldn't remember. I said by his logic, why didn't he order Backseat Banging 8, 9 or 10? He didn't have an answer. I used the analogy of Back to the Future 3, since he ordered that at one point, and said sir, it's the number in the series, like in Back to the Future 3, they didn't go to the future 3 times. Double quote. He just didn't get it. A lifetime working with computers, I have seen troubleshoot problem fix an internet connection. How the frick is that possible? One of the private ambulance companies I worked for had a contract with county coroner, so we handled most body removals. Got called to a DOA at a hotel. Guy was like 87. As we went to roll him into the body bag, a butt plug fell out of his butt. This thing had to be like 8 inches around. It was the size of a Coke can. As we're wheeling him out, the cops tell us they found a pound of coke in his suitcase, and the hotel staff saw at least 4 different prostitutes leaving his room the night before. What a way to go. I've helped out with necropsies for almost 4 years now. Not a super long time, but I have removed hundreds and hundreds of organs, so I get used to what they usually look like. One day I'm cutting into some chickens and it's going just like normal. Then I grab one, slice into her abdomen, grab her intestines, and they're hard, like rock solid and bumpy. I pull them out and whatever pellet food she was eating had gone the entire way through completely undigested. The intestinal lining was stretched out and super thin so you could see every detail of the food. It was like the world's thinnest sausage casing stretched over a nerd's rope. Never saw it happen again. I open up a blow shark that clearly had spleen damage. It had no spleen and had lymphatic tissue spread throughout the abdomen which looked like a beaded curtain. My mother, a pathologist, said this is common in humans that have been in car accidents. Don't know what could have caused it in a shark. Didn't have any scars from trauma. So I've been working, for about 3 years, for a company that usually analyzes food and environmental samples for pesticide and toxin levels. The weirdest job I ever had was in my first couple of months. We had to test a man's trousers for a court case because he'd been caught smuggling flowers. Facilities engineer, receiving a request to install a skylight over someone's desk. They were on the first floor of a 3-story building. Unless they wanted to look up someone in AP's bus all day, I'm not sure what they were thinking. Got called into the women's restroom by a tech because he had a horrible toilet clog and couldn't resolve it. After hours of trying to plug and snake the beast, I had him remove the toilet altogether and check the drain line, only to pull out an arm length, 4 inches thick mass of napkins, tampons, paper towels that a lady had flushed. Disturbing to no end. Had to set up the gym area into a large video conference room for an all hands meeting. Went to get the AV equipment out of the storeroom that was a closet off to the side of the gym, with no ceiling. Opened the door only to be greeted by 2 feet dangling in front of my face. Apparently someone in project engineering was peed at their boss for not letting him relocate back to be with his family in Europe and had hung themselves from the closet's rafters. I called my manager and promptly took a week off. I've worked in car rental for a little over 5 years, but my boss has been in it for 20ish and my dad over 30. We see a lot of licenses, and therefore lots of legal names. One of those legal names happened to be Ding Dong Wang. None of us had seen or have seen since a name that tops that. Second to that was a fellow whose name was Dickshit. I was working at a frozen yogurt store, a store that typically parents come in with their young children. And sure enough, an all-black biker gang of 30 comes in and gets frozen yogurt. Incredibly nice people. It was a fun time. When I worked in a diner in the middle of nowhere, I loved when MCs would come through in the summer on a ride. They paid all cash, drank all our beer really, nobody but them ever ordered any, and left tons in tips. And they were much more polite than the grumpy old folks that talked crap about them. You have been visited by the doggo beer master. Comment delicious so you always have beer in your life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.